this video, we're dropping a camera onto a sunken battleship 300 feet below the surface. What we saw down there was absolutely crazy, so without further ado, let's dive right into this video. We started our morning heading out of beautiful Hillsborough Inlet. We were greeted with this beautiful sunrise, but the plan today was to make an 8-mile run south to set up on a sunken battleship we had marked off of Pompano Beach. We got to our spot and the first thing we wanted to do was set up our electric reel. Once we set up the electric reel, we now started rigging up our camera and our deep drop rig. And the camera we were using here was called a Go Fish camera, and this camera has worked great for us when we drop it deep underwater. The next thing we did after this was all set up was rig up some bait. And what we had for bait here was squid. What we did with the squid was we took it and chopped it into 3 small pieces. Once we rigged this all up to our deep drop rig, we were ready to make our first drop down on this sunken battleship. Now that everything was all set, we positioned the boat and we were ready to make our first drop. And you guys will not believe what happened to us on drop number 3, so definitely stay tuned. So we now start making our way down to the bottom, and it only took us about 1 to 2 minutes to hit bottom because this spot was only in about 350 feet of water. So we now switch over to our underwater cam point of view. On our way down on drop number 1, you guys will see we really didn't see much here. So we're just going to skip to where we were about to hit bottom. So we're now about to hit bottom, and as you guys can see, one of the coolest things about dropping on this sunken battleship was seeing how big this thing was. This battleship was broken into a bunch of different pieces, which made it home to a ton of fish. And on this first drop, we saw a couple nice fish that swam up to the camp. We now just hit bottom, and the first fish we saw on the right looked like a nice sized fish. And let me know in the comments down below if you guys have any idea of what type of fish these are. To me, this first fish looked like a small grouper, but I'm truly not sure. But clearly this fish did not seem interested, so we started bringing up our baits to set up for drop number 2 in a different area on this sunken battleship. After checking our bait in our camera, we were ready to make our second drop onto this sunken battleship. And this time you'll notice even more fish swarming around the camera when we hit the bottom. But what happened on that final drop was absolutely insane, so definitely stay tuned. So we're getting close to hitting the bottom on our second drop, and let me know in the comments down below if you guys enjoy these underwater camera videos, and if you do, hit that like button on this video, we would really appreciate it. So we now just hit bottom, and on the second drop, you guys will notice here we were in a better position. We weren't directly on the battleship, we were a little off to it, so we started noticing a couple of fish show up here. And they all seem to be attracted to this little light we had on top. As you guys can see, they were all hitting our little light here. And again, if you guys know what kind of fish these are, drop it in the comments down below. I think they're grunts, but I'm not 100% sure. But again, on the bottom right here, it seemed like we saw another small grouper. But it just didn't seem that any of these fish were hitting the bait. They were just all attracted to this little shiny light. But after drifting a little, we got caught into the shipwreck here, which was really bad. But after minutes of trying to pull it out, it finally shook off. Luckily, we saved the camera and we didn't lose it here. But as we noticed here, we had a fish hooked up onto one of our baits. And it seemed like a small fish, but it was something. So we started bringing this fish up. And it only took us about 2 to 3 minutes to get this fish to the boat. Once we got this fish to the boat, we saw that it was a small snapper. So we put this fish back in the water. We weren't really out here to keep any of these fish. We were really just out here to see what was on this sunken battleship. So we reset our baits in our camera and we were ready to do the best drop of this video, drop number 3. We now start making our way down on the final drop. And this drop by far had the most action, and we saw something so crazy. And on this drop, we were on the shallower side of this battleship. We were about 280 feet deep. And let me know in the comments down below, where do you guys think we should drop this camera next? In a couple of our recent videos, we dropped it 1,000 feet deep, and that was pretty sick. But on this sunken battleship, this was pretty awesome itself. So it took us about 2 to 3 minutes again to hit bottom here. But we now are about 30 seconds off the bottom. And you guys will notice right when we're about to hit the bottom, we saw this giant fish. And this was pretty sick. So we're now about to hit bottom. And as you guys can see, we already had a bunch of these smaller fish swimming up to our light. For some reason, all these little fish were attracted to the light. They weren't really hitting our baits. They were more just hitting that light in the camera. So we had a ton of these smaller fish attack, and then this giant barracuda, as you guys just saw right there, swam up to the camera, and he's gonna swim back into the camera right here. And this thing looked massive. So he was looking to take a bite of one of our baits, but actually one of the grunts hit our bait, and he swallowed the grunt, as you guys can see right there. So this barracuda was hooked up to our line. He didn't seem like he knew he was hooked to our line, but after a couple seconds he tried running, and I think he figured out there that he was hooked up. And then after a little while he tried running up, and this is where I thought we lost our camera. Luckily he didn't. We only lost our deep drop rig, which was not as bad as losing a camera. So we just started bringing this camera up now after this. But we hope you guys enjoyed this underwater fishing video, and we hope to see you guys in the next Barjacks Family fishing video.